All right, guys, it looks like we are live. So welcome back to Roxham TV and also welcome back to Jam Crypto. Yesterday, I didn't see you because, there was an interview instead. I didn't do a live stream, but I did an amazing interview with a lady. So her name is Taruko. Make sure to go follow her on Twitter because I was asking a lot about the adoption in Japan. Right now, she's living in Thailand, so she could really compare the local culture, how basically the local are seeing Bitcoin as where there's risk on or risk off. She is Japanese, so she knows the Japanese culture in and out. But very interesting because she's living in Bangkok, and I think the cost of living is a little bit lower there compared to Japan. But that's not the point. But she made a really interesting point. So if you guys want to know her perspective, make sure, again, go to Roxham TV to watch the entire 45 minutes interview. I'm sure there's a lot of value for you to take away from that interview. Basically, she was talking about the local Japanese market and how the Japanese would view Bitcoin basically still very risk on. And I asked questions about, okay, if Japanese people think it's so risky, what about Mt. Because it came from Japan, right? So why Japanese people were so basically adopted Bitcoin in a much earlier stage compared to the rest of the world. So she made some interesting point, like Japanese people, basically they were going through deflation for more than a decade. So they don't really feel the urgency of adopting a risk on asset, adopting Bitcoin. They trust the government entirely. Whereas Thailand, on the other hand, like they prefer money that is not controlled by the government because they have lower confidence in the Thai government. That's why they tend to, when it comes to Bitcoin or so-called risk on, they are a lot more willing to adopt that. That's the interesting culture between Thailand and Japan. So yeah, I mean, I posted a short clip on my Twitter, literally just like 2 hours before I hop on the live stream. So make sure to watch that. Make sure to watch the full version on Roxham TV. But anyways, we are here to talk about Bitcoin's price. And as usual, we're going to dive deep and we're going to look at Bitcoin's TA, some starting from the hourly, slowly moving on to the daily and also on the weekly. Some call it that we might have seen the cycle top ready because that is some FUD. I'm not sure if it's FUD, but like there is this statement going around that Bitcoin cycle top going to happen exactly on the 6th of October, which was yesterday. And very interesting because like I'm watching the chart right now and on exactly yesterday, we reached a new high of 126,000. And right now we are correcting. So we're going to look at the chart. I'm going to overuse some of my own text, some of my own perspective. You can decide whether you agree with me or not, or you think the cycle top is already in. So if this sounds exciting to you, make sure you smash up that like button and also subscribe to the Roxham TV channel. All right, so we are officially on the hourly chart. One thing I really like about the hourly chart is that, okay, look at this. Basically, we were bouncing from 108, the logo bottom, and we are on this like nice little curve, like this nice little upward trend, almost like a rainbow. So yeah, we are, okay, let's do the from the bottom to the 126K. That is a 15%, okay, more than 15% pump in a matter of 10 days. So that's really good. And one thing I noticed from this, basically, this uptrend is that, okay, there are tops, like we are hitting this range, this top, or if I draw more perfectly, this is like another top that we are consistently hitting within this range. But whatever selling has been developing, it has been short-lived and it has been fully absorbed. This is the hourly chart that I'm observing. However, of course, like today, right after 6th of October, we are seeing this downward, like this correction from 126, so 126 down to 123. Like, okay, dollar wise is a $3,000 reduction, $3,000 correction. So in dollar terms, it may sound a lot, but like if you actually look at the percentage, it's just like a 2% correction. Like that is nothing for Bitcoin. But does it mean I'm bullish from now on? Things are taking up. We are in October. Like, of course, I'm very bullish, and I think that we could not bet against the narrative of October, and especially Q4. Usually, Bitcoin generate the most return in Q4, so I'm very, very bullish in Q4. And in October so far, we are only on this entering the second week of October, and we are already up 8%. I do think we can make it to a double digit. So the last time we had a double digit, it was already back in May. So I do think October, the narrative is so strong, and I do not think it's wise to bet against this narrative or even pull a shot. Like I find it really risky for individuals to pull short in a bull market. But if you're really good at it, then yeah, you do you. I much rather to have the ease in mind. All right, so that's for the hourly chart. I'm seeing basically this really nice curve, upward curve, sort of like a rainbow. However, one thing I do want to stress, like one thing I'm eyeing here, is that I do see this like bearish divergence forming on the RSI. And we are at the moment, we are still like not breaking out of this RSI. So which means we might see some correction in the coming hours or even in the coming days. It makes sense, right? Like Bitcoin pulled a 15% pump, okay, 15% pump in a matter of 10 days, okay, from a bottom of 108 to 126. So it's okay to have correction, and I think it's healthy to have correction. And if you also hop onto the daily chart, like you see what I mean. Like basically, okay, if we zoom closer, we have been on an uptrend only for like ever since the 1st of October. So that how crazy the October narrative really is. Like we have been up only till today. We have like a tiny correction of 2%. That is nothing, like that is not too concerning to me. But like, however, since I'm talking about a pullback, which is necessary in a healthy market, I do think that there is some range I am watching right now. And I do think maybe we're gonna, if we have a pullback, then maybe we're gonna bounce back to this level. So around 119 to 120, I do see strong support here. And if Bitcoin, again, if we do retrace, then I'm not surprised that we could go back and really retest this as a level of support. The reason why I'll say this is that, okay, we are hitting 124. And right now we haven't had a daily candle actually close above this level. So we hit this back in August. So 14th of August, that was like 124.5. And we are hitting this level again on 6th. So yesterday we're hitting again. So what I want to see is that we can actually have a daily candle close above 124. Right now, it's just weak. Like if you zoom closer, we haven't technically closed above that. Like, okay, there are 3 weeks touching this level, but what I want to see is actually close above that level. That is a bullish catalyst for me in my book. If not, like, I think it's completely healthy to go back and really test this range. So between 119 to 120, I do see strong support around this level. As we can see, like, there's so much price data. So I do think Bitcoin will go back. So again, prior highs is going to be the support that we're going to have in the future. So one thing I want to talk about that now, I kind of talk about that in the intro when I'm just starting out the live stream, is that people are talking about the 6th of October. So yesterday, we have already seen a cycle top. I kind of want to offer more perspective when it comes to 4-year cycle. Okay, again, I am a believer when it comes to the 4-year cycle. You might be, okay, I'm turning off the video, I'm not watching the live stream anymore, but like, bear with me. I would love to be wrong, but I don't think, long story short, I don't think 6th of October, which is yesterday, was already cycle top. So let's take a step back. Why people got this number? Why people think that 6th of October is a cycle top? Let's hop on to the basically the Bitcoin's price history, the entire Bitcoin's price history. So it looks very confusing here, but basically based on the 4-year cycle, there are different calculations. So people would like to measure from the low, so cycle low to the cycle top. And also here, cycle low to the cycle top. Let me zoom closer and let me know, Chad, if you could see my screen though. All right, so back in 2015, this has already been played out. So from the cycle bottom to the cycle top, that is around 1,400 days. So here is 1,477 days to be precise. And then the next cycle, we also take the bottom. So that happened in December 2018. So if we take the bottom to the cycle top, we got like another 1,000 and so it's top one. So 1,064 days. So yeah, I said something wrong because I was reading the bottom one. So basically, if you take the cycle bottom to cycle top, is 1,064 days. Same for 2018 to 2021. So that's 1,064 days. And if we apply the same metric, if we use the 1,064 day, that would bring us basically to the 16th of 6th of October. Where is it? Okay, 1,000. Okay, so 6th of October. But however, one thing we need to put this into perspective is that the standard deviation, like whether we're gonna get the exact same day. So this is one concern that I have. Even though I'm the 4-year cycle believer, I don't think we have hit the cycle top. Like, okay, I'm going to use my TA to back that. We haven't touched into the TA side of things yet. And we're also going to use some on-chain analysis to back what I say, and also news analysis. Like, okay, news-wise, we know that global liquidity is unlocking. Like, there is only more money entering the market. There are only room for the US or even many countries around the world to cut rate instead of hiking rates. Like, I'm not being crazy here, right? So global liquidity is unlocking. We know there's another rate cut at the end of October. There might be another one in December. So at least that's what people are saying. So global liquidity is unlocking. We have weak labor market. So basically the Fed is being forced to cut more rates. And we also have a very friendly SEC. So basically, news-wise, everything is bullish catalyst. So I do think, okay, when it comes to the 4-year cycle, I don't think it's going to end exactly on 6th of October. But I do think there is some standard deviation to apply to here. So basically, if we take the means, like the average, and then we see, okay, how many days extra, like maybe it's like a +1 standard deviation or +2 or +3 standard deviation. We don't know. But how people come up with 6th of October is that they are essentially just using the cycle bottom to the cycle top, and they got the number of 1,064 days, roughly around that. Of course, we need to consider standard deviation, but there's another calculation. So if you, however, if you use the cycle top to another cycle top, that's another metrics I'm getting, and I'm more leaning towards to this metric compared to the low, like cycle low to cycle top. So what I got here is that, okay, if we use the cycle top, each cycle top, so we have cycle top in November 2013, we have another cycle top in December 2017, and then another one in November 2021. So what I got here is that if we use the cycle top, we will get essentially like 200 something bars, so 200 something weeks, which is equivalent to 1,400 something days. Again, standard deviation applies here. But if we do apply this metric instead of just using the cycle bottom to cycle top, then the bull market gets stretched out a little bit. So I do believe that we're gonna see a cycle top in Q4, but maybe not exactly on 6th of October. So if we apply that, okay, if we are being optimistic and if we use 1,477 days to apply to this cycle, we essentially stretch that out to November, like somewhere around November. Like no one can time exactly when the cycle top gonna be, but like maybe we're gonna stretch that out to November or even December if we are very lucky. Okay, so this is one metric and one of the reasons why I think we haven't seen a cycle top yet. And other reason, okay, let's also hop back to the basically the Bitcoin weekly chart. So let's bring out the weekly. All right, so on the weekly, again, we are on a nice uptrend. If continue, okay, let me draw the trend line here. So if we continue this upward trend, then I won't be surprised to see basically Bitcoin reaching more than 130,000 within just October. So, okay, I sound like an ultra bull here, but like if we just like wig or touch or come close to the trend line, if we continue this bullish catalyst, this bullish momentum, then 130,000 is on the table within just October. This is what I strongly believe. So this is on the weekly chart, what the weekly candles have been telling me. Again, okay, another reason why I think the cycle top hasn't been in yet, we have to pull up the 50-week moving average. You know, this is another indicator I love using. So what you have to focus here is just this blue line. So this blue line is basically rising. So just like, like 1 week or two ago, I was watching this, it was like below 100K. Right now it's already 101K. So 50-week is 101K, and we are basically, there's so much room. We are at 123 now, and we have to drop like 18% in order to reach the 50-week moving average. And historically speaking, it has been proven right almost like a lot of times, basically. If we have a weekly candle close below the 50-week moving average, so we right now here it doesn't really count because it's just a week, and here it doesn't count as well, again because it was just a week. But from here, that was, guess what? That was the cycle top. So we dropped from 69K. That was the cycle top back in 2021. And then from there, it was down only. It was, okay, we quickly dropped. We dropped below the 50-week moving average. So that was quite drastic. That was like 39% drop. And what we're seeing here is that we have consistent weekly candles drop. And okay, drop below the 50-week is okay because that's what we saw here, right? But what I'm looking for, like if there's like early sign that the bull market, like the cycle top is running in, is that if we have a weekly candle actually close below. So okay, here we keep touching, that's not exactly bullish, right? But here on January 2022, we have one weekly candle actually close below the 50-week moving average. So if that was to happen, okay, if we do get 2 consecutive weekly candles below 50-week moving average, then you could say goodbye to the bull run. Like I'll see you in the next bull run. But like in this case, from a technical standpoint, that's not what I'm seeing. So I do not think that 6th of October, which is just yesterday, was the cycle top. Though I do think in the coming days, we do see some correction. Maybe again, like if you go back to the beginning of the show, I did mention about the hourly chart. There's like a weakening, like a bearish divergence when it comes to the hour sign. There's strong support around 120K. So it's okay for Bitcoin to go back to that range and really test that as a level of support. So that in the short term, maybe that will happen in the coming hours or in the coming days. But like I'm talking about, okay, next week. I don't think, okay, there is already a cycle top. Okay, this is the TA side of things. I have also touched upon like a news side of things, like news analysis, why I don't think 6th of October is cycle top. Let's also hop on to the on-chain analysis, because we're trying to build a case here. Like, okay, you guys decide if I'm convincing enough. But I like to basically, I look at metrics, I look at data, I look at numbers, and I'll just tell you what I see. All right, so one indicator I love using is the MVRV Z-Score. So we have talked about that quite a few times on my channel as well. So the market value to realized value Z-Score basically is a classic on-chain analysis indicator, and it has historically been used to identify cycle tops and bottoms. It looks at market value, so basically the current price times Bitcoin circulating supply. So this is against the realized value. So how much people are actually paying instead of just like paper value for Bitcoin, like how much money people are willing to pay, hardcore cash basically. All right, so this is how we decide to show if the market is overheated or cool off a little bit. So what this chart is essentially telling, okay, as the MVRV, just pay attention to this range. Okay, this range we're building here. So the MVRV Z-Score was approaching range lows. So we see the range lows, right? Like 2. The probabilities were weighing on the side of a strong move up in the near future, basically. So the MVRV Z-Score has since bounced off the bottom of the range, but still remains relatively muted because right now we are sitting around 2.4, or 2.5, somewhere around that, basically quite low. The reason why I think I'm saying like 2.4 or 2.5 is quite low is because, okay, take a look again, 2021. So that was of course, like the true cycle top. We only know that in hindsight, but since we have the data now, so Q1 2021, so the MVRV Z-Score reached over 7, like over the score 7. And same thing happened in 2017. So that was a peak. And the MVRV was even over 10. And basically all the prior cycles we are seeing here the MVRV are telling us that, okay, when a cycle top happens, we usually, like the peaks will be ranging between 7 to 10%. But however, we need to take into account, which is diminishing return. So even if we assume diminishing volatility with each cycle, and therefore a lower MVRV Z-score at the top of this cycle, a 2.4 to 2.5 will still be very low for a cycle top. The first local top, local top of this bull market cycle, it still hit like over 3. So that was here, this spike, this orange line, right? And that was the first local top. And even, the second local top, we still reached like a 3.3. Oh, okay, this is the first local top and this is the second local top, sorry. Okay, right now we still have a recent peak of 2.7. That was just back in July 2025. So just a few months ago. And right now we're sitting at 2.4 to 2.5. The MVRV Z-score basically is strongly suggesting that the big move of this cycle has not yet happened and may very well be underweight right now. So that's what the on-chain analysis is telling us. Like, again, I believe that the 4-year cycle is still intact, but I do think the 4-year cycle is going to slowly get even more irrelevant as time goes by. It makes sense, right? Because institutions are in, Bitcoin being a multi-trillion dollars asset right now. So I would say Bitcoin is slightly trading closer to the macro instead of basically historically the historical data right here. But that is one thing we still need to consider. Like as we slowly see more crazy number, like Bitcoin reaching, I think, 130,000 BTC in October is doable. Like if we do see that things are getting a little bit overheated, I do like to take a little bit of profit off the table, especially when it comes to altcoins. All right, so that's for the on-chain analysis and also the TA. Let's also move on to some news. Let's talk about the shutdown. We've of course talked about the shutdown before, but what's wild is that this shutdown is actually delaying crypto ETF approvals, yet Bitcoin keeps pushing new all-time highs. So that's very fascinating. I'll explain what's going on. Why Bitcoin is rallying in the middle of some chaos, some political chaos, and how this connects to also Solana ETFs, because we're all waiting for that, right? Okay, so what happened? Just a quick overview is that, Bitcoin, again, we hit a new all-time high, 126, right as actually it happened on 5th of October. So when the US entered a partial government shutdown, and we saw Bitcoin enter new high. If you're new, if this is your first time hearing about shutdown, a shutdown happens when Congress can't agree on the budget, meaning most non-essential government services stop operating. That includes agencies like the SEC, like the one responsible for approving new crypto ETFs. So while the SEC is frozen, ETF approvals for Solana or other altcoins are also on hold. But here's a plot twist. Bitcoin reaching new all-time high, regardless of what the macro, regardless of what the government is doing. So it's really acting like the narrative, like digital gold, a safe haven asset people buy when they lose faith in governments or in currencies. So why the shutdown, of course, would delay the approval? During a shutdown, federal agencies like the SEC running, basically they run on skeleton crews. They only handle emergencies like national security or critical infrastructure. Of course, crypto ETF, it doesn't sound very emergent, right? So that means filings, meetings, voting sessions for crypto ETFs are on pause, basically. And this kind of, there's a little bit disappointment. I can sense that on Twitter. Like, okay, people are looking forward for a Solana ETF in particular. Some people are saying Litecoin ETF, though I don't really get the point for that. But it is what it is. Solana ETF, I'm a big fan. So this is mostly just temporary. Like once the government reopens, approvals will likely move quickly again. So will we see a Solana ETF within this year in 2025? Looks like we will, because that's what you said on Polymarket. So more than 99% of people are predicting that we're going to get a Solana ETF within this year. And basically, a lot of analysts, like Bloomberg analysts, are predicting that there's like more than 95% we're going to get approval within this year. And SEC being so friendly to crypto, we are under the Trump administration right now. And there are also some pending Solana ETF applications, like who apply for that. So basically, all the big names, like BlackRock included. So if BlackRock wants in, chances are we're going to get a Solana ETF. So let's see if we're going to get that right when the government done being in a shutdown. But here are some key applicants. So Fennec, basically all these big names. So Fennec, 21 shares, Bitwise, Fidelity, Grayscale, yada, yada, yada. You know the gist. So because of this shutdown, those dates are postponed. The decisions were meant to happen in October, actually, but because very interestingly, the US like to go through the shutdown. It's very exclusive to the US government. So they're going through the shutdown and then things basically just stop. I do think that if approved, like many expect, Solana would rally more than 50%. But okay, let's come back to Bitcoin, like why Bitcoin keeps breaking new all-time high even in the shutdown. Because at first glance, a government shutdown, it sounds so scary. It sounds like bad news for sure, but not for Bitcoin, interestingly. Here's the logic if you find it like hard to understand. So the shutdown actually exposed political dysfunction and debt problems in the US, which makes investors lose confidence in the dollar. So when faith in fiat money weakens, people buy hard assets like gold, like BTC. And if you look at the national debt, it's such a joke. Like the US national debt is approaching $38 trillion and it's still climbing every single second. Okay. So that massive debt load plus delayed government operation, it makes Bitcoin look like a safer long-term store of value. And it's not just Bitcoin reaching new high. Of course, gold. Like gold has been long-term proven to be the safe haven asset. Is hard asset, is a hedge against inflation, against government. So gold is reaching new all-time high. Like we are approaching $4,000, same as BTC. Like both rose because investors wanted protection from dollar weakness. Bloomberg even called Bitcoin a safe haven, like amid shutdown fears. However, if shutdown drags too long, overall risk appetite could fall, slowing the rally, of course. But okay, I kind of want to go back to Solana. Like, if we do get a Solana ETF, well, I think it's going to be very, very beneficial for us Solana holders. Like if you are Solana holders, just do let me know in the live chat. Like, because institutions right now currently hold less than 1% of the crypto exposure in Solana, compared to 16% in Bitcoin. So there's still huge room for growth for Solana. And I've actually talked about Solana for during the bear market, like basically for 2 years. So in terms of Bitcoin, like what's feeling Bitcoin price apart from the shutdown. Like, of course, there's like strong ETF flow. BlackRock is in because we know the story, we know the history. Like, basically, all these like dozen other ETF applicants apply for the ETF, but they didn't manage to get it. When BlackRock wanted something, they got it. So the reason why BlackRock would get it, because BlackRock basically is the most powerful entity in the world. A secret hand that, like a secret magic, secret power that you couldn't see, but it's actually basically controlling the whole world. So that's BlackRock. And the reason why BlackRock is all in for Bitcoin is, okay, number talks, money talks. And out of all the ETFs from BlackRock, like, okay, BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF is now the most profitable ETF. So BlackRock is an entity, and they like money. If they see something is generating so much money, it's basically printing money for BlackRock. So of course they're gonna get it. And BlackRock also controls the government. So yeah, billions are flowing into Bitcoin ETFs, so driving up demand. So that's one force why we are seeing Bitcoin approaching all-time high, even despite we are in a shutdown, like literally in a shutdown. So that's one. And then another reason is that institution, like companies and funds, are adding BTC to the balance sheet. And then there's like the macro side of things. The politics in the US is basically such a joke. It's so unstable. And then we also have like a weak USD. So it's kind of a no-brainer for people to flee the USD, flee the fiat dollars to safe haven asset like Bitcoin, like gold. All right, so I would say I remain bullish in Q4, especially. The technical cycles also suggest Bitcoin could peak, okay, around November. Like if you go back to the beginning of the show, if you missed that, like we might see a cycle top if you are a 4-year cycle believer, but still like short-term pullbacks are normal. So again, like 120 looks like a healthy range for a pullback, for a correction. Even if we go to 120, like I wouldn't be worried. So this rally basically, it highlights how Bitcoin has matured into a macro asset tied to global events. The government shutdown is no longer a crypto setback. It's a proof point for why Bitcoin exists in the first place, basically being money outside government control. So I really like that about Bitcoin. All right, so that's for the shutdown. Let's move on to the next segment. Okay, I wanted to talk about the trade deficit from the US, but looks like we're not sure if we have enough time. So I'm gonna skip to the next one instead. Like, okay, maybe for tomorrow, if we have enough time, we could go back into the trade deficit. But today, I do want to talk more about the US investing into a Canadian mining company, Trilogy, because like I think this is a bigger news compared to the trade deficit. We know the US is going to be in trade deficit. Doesn't look like there's an easy way out anyway. Okay. This is a breaking news, literally just happened a few hours ago. So the US government just bought 10% stake in a Canadian mining company called Trilogy Metals. So to take a symbol for Trilogy is TMQ. This isn't just some random investment. It's part of a broader strategy around critical materials, minerals, national security. So the move instantly caused Trilogy stock to soar more than 210%. Like this is just like the US government, like being chosen by the US government. So in this stream, I'm going to walk you through like what this company does, like what is this Trilogy Metals, why it matters, what this government deal basically actually means. And is it manipulation? Like, can the US, is it allowed? Is it even legal for the US to choose a company? Okay, we got to pump your stock. So yeah, I'm going to break it down in a simple and easy to follow kind of way. Basically, okay, for this company, it is a small Canadian mining exploration company based in Vancouver. Before this news, Trilogy's market share was only around 100 million to 200 million. So, okay, it sounds a lot, but like, trust me, it's tiny by industry standards. So they have like different projects and they focus on this like, what's it called? Like Trilogy's upper Cuboc mineral projects. So this project is in Alaska, and they have like a massive, like more than 472,000 acre site in the Ambler mining district. So what's so special about it is because like this area is rich in critical minerals. We are talking about copper, we talk about zinc, we're talking about cobalt and silver. So all essential for electronic stuff, or EV, or batteries, or renewable energy systems. So everyone in this world is craving for this kind of stuff as minerals, right? So for Trilogies, they have like key projects. So they have open pit mining, which contain billions of pounds of copper and zinc. They also have like underground copper and cobalt site still in early exploration. Until now, the biggest problems, like before the still, right, before the US government's getting in, their biggest problem for Trilogy is access. Like there's like environmental restrictions block the Ambler access road needed to ship out some minerals. So here's where the story starts, and here's where the story begins. So what happened exactly just like a few hours ago is that President Trump, so Donald Trump, signed an executive order approving permits for the Ambler access road, and at the same time, like authorized $35.6 million like investment by the US Department of Interior into Trilogy Metals. So they right now they hold like 10% of the stake. And they have the ability, so they do have the ability to raise that to nearly 17% if they use the warrants later. So the market reaction for this is that, okay, if we hop onto Twitter, there's like so much, people are flooding this thing, and some people are not very happy. Okay, look at this, like, how is this legal? Like government picking winners and losers. Trump insiders front running these decisions. So stuff like that, because like we saw this TMQ, we saw this like pump from $2 to $6.50, and then right now it's settled at like $4 something. So still over 200% just because this news broke. And social media, of course, went wild. People were joking, okay, the US government investment portfolio is now pumping small cap mining stocks. If like this was some like shitcoin chart that I'm looking at, I'll be extremely happy. But this is like some government chose this company to pump up. So kind of circle back to these comments we are seeing. Okay, that's another one. Like, remember, folks, like socialism is only good when it benefits billionaires and corporations. It's never good when it's for a poor or working class person. So is this legal? Is there like manipulation going on? Okay, there is actually historical precedent for the US directly buying or investing in some private or public companies when it is tied to national security or economic interest. Like this isn't about stock speculation or pumping, it's actually a strategic investment. So it was authorized by the Defense Protection Act, and also the US International Development Finance Corporation Act. So the reason why they'll do, okay, they allow the government to prioritize materials for defense or let agencies to take equity stakes in strategic projects. And historically speaking, the US government has done so. So back in 2008 financial crisis, the US actually took stakes in Citigroup, like some banks. And then there was like a CHIPS Act as well, where they invested in semiconductor companies like Intel, or even back in World War II, something like that, when the government took some ownership in key defense firms. So it is rare, I'll admit, but it's not illegal per se. So for the trilogies like the Alaska project, Donald Trump is saying, okay, it could potentially supply 10 to 20% of US copper needs for the next decade. So copper, again, is crucial for everything from EV to power grids, all electronic stuff, we need copper. And Donald Trump is saying, okay, we need to cut reliance on China. And this TMQ, this project is going to create at least 1,000 jobs in Alaska, and also like kickstart domestic mining and reduce import risk. Like, in other words, this is about resource nationalism, like securing raw materials for future technologies and national defense. But okay, people are saying there's still manipulation, which it makes sense. Like how the government ownership, like how government actually invest into a companies. So think of the US government like a giant corporation with a balance sheet. Like when it acquires a stake, it's like adding new asset, just like you owning Apple stock. The $35.6 million is taxpayer money recorded as investment. If the stock goes up, the government asset value increases. If it falls, taxpayers technically lose. So like this isn't about short-term profit, it's about control and supply assurance. Government also gets shareholder rights like voting and dividends, though it usually doesn't like doesn't include much in the operations. All right, so is this manipulation? Like some rumors are saying that like before the announcement, some traders may have speculated early, but yeah, I mean, maybe, perhaps, because it's the government. We can't really trust the government, can we? So what's the next move here? Since TMQ it pumped so much, people are saying, what's the next TMQ? Like, what's the next company that the US government gonna be chosen, and the company be the chosen one? All right, so here's some speculation. Not financial advice, but like here's some speculation. People are saying, okay, there are basically some different materials like minerals the government needs. Okay, for example, like lithium. That's one speculation, and people are speculating if like Lithium Americas, that like one of the companies, maybe okay, that's the one. So maybe gonna be the next chosen one. And other minerals that the US needs is rare earth. So people are speculating maybe MP Materials or USA Rare Earth, like these two companies may be the next chosen ones. Again, speculation. In short, the government could be forming an informal like sovereign wealth fund for national security. Like instead of buying oil fields, it's buying stakes in companies that power the modern economy. But like kind of circle back to this kind of comments, like of course this would never happen in Bitcoin. So like why does it matter for us Bitcoin investors, right? So like Bitcoin right now is being viewed as macro asset. It's completely tied with macro. It's no longer, okay, when it came out, it was just like some internet money used by criminals and stuff. So it's not just mining, but actually Bitcoin is becoming monetary systems. And here's why it matters. So like the resource nationalism drives up commodity prices. supporting hard assets narrative. So gold, copper, and Bitcoin often move together. So, okay, while the story about mining and metals, the underlying trend, the government expanding control over strategic assets. So this is, again, reinforcing Bitcoin's role as a hedge, because we just don't want government's control. And Bitcoin is basically giving a finger to the government. That's why Bitcoin is so sexy. So yeah, the key takeaway, like the US didn't approve a mine. It bought a part of one. That is like what this deal is about. This marked a huge shift toward active state capitalism in America. So for Trilogy Metals, is once in a lifetime opportunity that de-risks the project and opens funding doors. For the US, is about securing supply chains and reducing China's leverage. For investor, it's another reminder that government power moves markets, and the line between policy and investing is blurring very fast. So yeah, I'll keep you guys up to date. So stay tuned, because if the US starts buying mining companies today, it might not be long before other countries would follow suit. But again, okay, always cycle back to Bitcoin. Is so far the best asset, the best hedge against the government if you are just concerned about being controlled by the government, concerned about, okay, one day because you say something you don't like and then there's some terrible stuff going to happen to you. So I would say hold Bitcoin, not just for the monetary value. Of course, seeing your money going up is one of the best feeling in the world, but it's also about the broader idea and how you could basically control your own money and control your own freedom. Because if you want to control someone's act, you just need to control the finance. All right, so that's a wrap. Again, I don't have enough time to dive into the trade deficit. Hopefully we have enough time for tomorrow, but before we end this live stream, so make sure to give me a follow on Twitter, because I have very recent updates, most of the updates I will post on my Twitter. So do follow me on @jamjamcrypto_IO. Make sure you put underscore, because otherwise you'll get a hacker and you don't want that. So make sure to follow me on Twitter, and make sure to follow Roxham TV on Twitter. So @Roxham TV, and here I'm going live here. Again, same time tomorrow. So my show is Monday to Friday, 4 a.m. Eastern time. My time is a little bit weird because I'm based in Hong Kong. So if you guys are watching the replay, I really appreciate that as well. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for the comments I'm seeing here. I'm seeing Gunner Big One, PC Games, and also Batman Crypto. So thank you so much for watching, and same time tomorrow. Thank you.